Hello, welcome, happy Saturday. I am trying something new today, which is that I'm going to use one of my favorite passages from a book as sort of a jumping off point to talk about a concept that's been on my mind. So today I have this wonderful illustrated edition of The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. It might come out backwards on the screen, I'm not sure. But in any event, this is an edition by Children's Classics, and it's one of the books that I really loved growing up. And what I want you to be thinking about as you listen is, are there ways that you are perhaps addicted to intensity in your work? I definitely include myself in this. I think a lot of us who have a big vision for what we want to contribute to the world, sometimes we can get caught up in things being hard or intense, and we can make our lives more complicated for ourselves than we really need to. So that's the invitation as you listen. This is from chapter 35 and 36, and the context is that the runaway slave Jim, who Huck and Jim have been traveling together, he's been caught, and he's being held in Tom's uncle's shed, actually. And Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn are plotting about how they're going to rescue him, release him from the shed and get him away safely. It would be most an hour yet till breakfast, so we left and struck down into the woods. Because Tom said we got to have some light to see how to dig by, and a lantern makes too much and might get us into trouble. What we must have was a lot of them rotten chunks that's called foxfire, and just makes a soft kind of glow when you lay them in a dark place. We fetched an armful and hid it in the weeds and sat down to rest. And Tom says, kind of dissatisfied, "Lame it! This whole thing is just as easy and awkward as it can be. And so it makes it so rotten difficult to get up a difficult plan. There ain't no watchman to be drugged. Now there ought to be a watchman. There ain't even a dog to give a sleeping mixture to. And there's Jim chained by one leg with a 10-foot chain to the leg of his bed. Why, all you got to do is lift up the bedstead and slip off the chain. And Uncle Silas, he trusts everybody. He sends the key and don't send anybody to watch. Jim could have got out of that window hole before this, only there wouldn't be no use trying to travel with a 10-foot chain on his leg. Why, drat it, Huck, it's the stupidest arrangement I ever see. You got to invent all the difficulties. Well, we can't help it. We got to do the best we can with the materials we've got. Anyhow, there's one thing. There's more honor in getting him out through a lot of difficulties and dangers when there weren't one of them furnished to you by the people who it was their duty to furnish them. And you had to contrive them all out of your own head. Now, look at just that one thing of the lantern. When you come down to the cold facts, we simply got to let on that a lantern's rescue. Why, we could work with a torchlight procession if we wanted to, I believe. Now, whilst I think of it, we got to hunt up something to make a saw out of the first chance we got. And then Huck says, what do we want of a saw? What we want of it? Hey, we got to saw the leg off of Jim's bed so as to get the chain loose? Why, you just said a body could lift up the bedstead and slip the chain off. Well, if that ain't just like you, Huck Finn, you can get up the infant's schooliest ways of going at a thing. Why, hain't you ever read any books at all? Baron Trenck, nor Casanova, nor Benvenuto Cellini, nor Henry IV, nor none of them heroes? Who ever heard of getting a prisoner loose in such an old matey way as that? No, the way all the best authorities does is to saw the bed leg in two and leave it just so and swallow the sawdust so it can't be found and put some dirt and grease around the sawed place so the very keenest seneschal can't see no sign of its being sawed and thinks the bed leg is perfectly sound. Then, the night you're ready, fetch the leg a kick, down she goes, slip off your chain, and there you are. Nothing to do but hitch your rope ladder to the battlements, shin down it, break your leg in the moat, because a rope ladder 19 foot's too short, you know, and there's your horses and your trusty vassals, and they scoop you up and fling you across the saddle, and away you go to your native Languedoc or Navarre or wherever it is. It's gaudy, Huck. I wish there was a moat to this cabin. If we get time, the night of the escape, we'll dig one. I says, what do we want of a moat when we're going to snake him out from under the cabin? But he never heard me. He had forgotten me and everything else. He had his chin in his hand, thinking. Pretty soon, he sighs and shakes his head, then sighs again and says, no, it wouldn't do. There ain't necessity enough for it. For what? I says. Why, to saw Jim's leg off, he says. Good land, I says. Why, there ain't no necessity for it. And what would you want to saw his leg off for anyway? Well, some of the best authorities has done it. They couldn't get the chain off, so they just cut their hand off and shoved. And a leg would be better still. But we gotta let that go. There ain't necessity enough in this case. But there's one thing. Jim can have a rope ladder. We can tear up sheets and make him a rope ladder easy enough, and we can send it to him in a pie. It's mostly done that way, and I've had worse pies. Why, Tom Sawyer, how you talk, I says. Jim ain't got no use for a rope ladder. He has got use for it. How you talk, you better say. You don't know nothing about it. He got to have a rope ladder. They all do. What in the nation can he do with it? Do with it? He can hide it in his bed, can't he? That's what they all do, and he's got to too, Huck. You don't ever seem to want to do anything that's regular. You want to be starting something fresh all the time. Suppose he don't do nothing with it. Ain't it there in his bed for a clue after he's gone? And don't you reckon they'll want some clues? Of course they will. And you wouldn't leave them any? That would be pretty howdy-do, wouldn't it? I never heard of such a thing. And so I'm going to skip a little bit here. You get the idea of Tom's sort of commitment to his ideals. They're reconvening about their plan, and Tom says, everything's all right now except tools, and that's easy fixed. Tools, I says. Yes. Tools for what? Why, to dig with. We ain't gonna gnaw him out, are we? Ain't them old crippled picks and things in there good enough to dig him out with, I says. He turns on me, looking pitying enough to make a body cry, and says, Huck Finn, did you ever hear of a prisoner having picks and shovels and all the modern conveniences in his wardrobe to dig himself out with? Now, I want to ask you, if you got any reasonableness in you at all, what kind of a show would that give him to be a hero? Why, they might as well lend him the key and done with it. Picks and shovels. Why, they wouldn't furnish him to a king. Well then, I says, if we don't want the picks and shovels, what do we want? A couple case knives. To dig the foundations out from under that cabin with? Yes. Confound it, it's foolish, Tom. It don't make no difference how foolish it is. It's the right way. And it's the regular way. And there ain't no other way that ever I heard of, and I've read all the books that gives any information about these things. They always dig out with a case knife. And not through dirt, mind you. Generally, it's through solid rock. And it takes them weeks and weeks and weeks and forever and ever. Why, look at one of them prisoners in the bottom dungeon of the Castle d'If in the harbor of Marseille that dug himself out that way. How long was he at it, you reckon? And Huck says, I don't know. Well, guess. I don't know, a month and a half? 37 years. And he come out in China. That's the kind. I wish the bottom of this fortress was solid rock. Jim don't know nobody in China. What's that got to do with it? Neither did that other fellow, but you're always a wandering off on a side issue. Why can't you stick to the main point? And so I'm gonna stop there. I think you get the point. I really love this book. And one of the things that I love about it is that Tom and Huck are both very, very sympathetic characters. So Mark Twain is definitely poking fun at them, and they're very human. So this invitation is not for you to be mean to yourself or extra hard on yourself. And it's an opportunity to look at those patterns. I think we can all recognize that either in ourselves or in others, that sort of commitment to making things really intense, or to kind of living an adventure, or to feeling like a hero all the time. And so this is just an invitation to allow things to be easier, and to open up some space for unfolding, and for some grace, and for some permission, and being able to laugh a little bit at that tendency to make things really hard all the time. So you can still be a hero in your own life if that's important to you, in lots of different ways. You can feel like your actions matter, like you're living in a way that's really meaningful to you, and to let it be simple and easy, and to be able to laugh a little bit when you catch yourself making things extra intense and hard. So I hope you enjoyed. I will be adding this video to my blog as well, and you're welcome to take a look at the beautiful illustrations that I've included, which are excerpted again from this edition, which is hard to see. But I really love the words, and this version is also illustrated in a lovely way. So without further ado, enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and I hope you can find ways to allow and to let things be simple and easy, and to have even more fun as you are leading your meaningful life and contributing the work that you want to contribute. So be well. Take good care.